Hi and welcome everyone. This is Varleigh with you at Lavender Sky Panther. Thanks for being here tonight. This is Live 22, number 22, called STAR.DUST.BUNNY, and it's April 4th, 2026. Now, some say that April 1st is the true new year, not January 1st. I tend to agree with that. After all, and again, for friends down under, which I don't like that expression, friends in the southern hemisphere, um, I'm referring, of course, more north hemisphere centric. So not intentionally. I know you guys have a whole nother season down there. However, for northern hemisphere, it makes sense, doesn't it, that we would kick off the year when things are in bloom and things are in let's grow and create mode, not when things are still kind of dead and at the tail end of dying. That's just how I feel. So what I see circulating around on YouTube and within the spiritual communities, it does make sense. Also, if you look at the Chinese culture, they celebrate Chinese New Year in February. So that's also, closer to the spring, more aligned with that end of things. So I'm totally on board with that one. That doesn't faze me at all. So see how you feel about that one. So the reason why I don't have my slides today, so no paper today, but I have a ton of other props because what we're talking about today is I was just doing a little word play there. So stardust and dust bunny, in spring when we do spring cleaning, we talk about dust bunnies being under the couch or in the corners. And obviously it's just if anyone's not familiar with that term, it's just the accumulation of dirt and dust and things that kind of just come in your living space, and it's natural to come in as you like open a door or window, things are going to blow in. It's just, the nature of things. So anyway, there's the running joke in North America is, people just have the dust bunnies sitting there in the corner forever because people do like a surface cleaning and never make it deep into the corners to get some of that stuff out. Now, obviously, that's not everybody. Some people would be more, I don't like the term, I don't like labels for anything. So I'm just going to say it because it's cultural reference, but like OCD or somebody who's like, oh my gosh, it must be clean. Okay, that's a different thing. So the houses are going to be spotless and wonderful. And others, it's no shame if you've got a dust bunny or two. I have them, I walk right by it. Who cares? So it just depends on your point of view. But today we're going to, let me go back. So the dust bunny part in the title, that's that. And then we have stardust. And that's going to be the spiritual aspect because it is said, right, we are made of the same stuff of stars. I don't like the word dust. And again, I don't want to split hairs and the semantics of words too much. But, I just want to say that I don't see that word dust at all. Like, if it's used in a positive sense, like sprinkle fairy dust, okay. But it also is implying like something like we're of the ground, which is okay if we're taking it from a positive, like earth point of view, earth elemental point of view. But if you take it from the negative aspect, we're not dust, we're glorious, we're shining. And some people say that stars aren't even made up of what the scientific nomenclature is. Stars are also just celestial beings. Many cultures, indigenous cultures, talk about those stars being ancestors or predecessors, however you want to look at it. Ones that are, in the heavens, also loved ones who have passed on. There's, beliefs that they become stars. And from my own research and intuiting into things and everything else, for me, I totally believe we have a choice to be a star when we transition, off this plane or this dimension. I believe totally we can choose. We're a living being. We're spark. We're that divine God spark of life. So we can become a star. We can go off to a different planet. We can we're not tied or bound to anything. We can do whatever we want. That's my understanding. Anyway, I do want to say welcome to Illuminated Perfume. Thank you and welcome. And Joy to Share. Good to see you. I just want to read. Joy to Share says, it's kind of funny to think that we start the spring in the middle of the winter, just like we start the new day at midnight, which is the middle of the night. And there's a funny emoji. Yeah, exactly, right? That is totally true, right? It just doesn't feel right in the body. And hi there, Roxy Girl. Hi from Australia. So we do have Southern Hemisphere in the house. Awesome. And again, I did post a periodic thank you. I know I thank on the show all the time, but I truly thank all of you for being here and just, from the heart space, big love, beautiful energy coming your way, whatever you need right now. Okay, so today's topic with that title, Stardust Bunny, is that I'm going to talk about there are so many, and I said in the little summary of this that I'm sure a lot of you out there even know of yet other things that I might not touch on. Feel free to drop them in there in the chat or, whatever. But I'm just going to bring up a few, a few ways that I have known in my experience over the last, say, close to 15 years, and tips that I've picked up along the way from very intuitive and very well-connected spiritual guides here on this planet. And so I'm just going to share a few. And I'm also going to share a couple of very profound spiritual experiences which do relate to spring cleaning. Kind of, for me, I don't like the word mind-blowing or phrase. I like mind-expanding experiences, like wow moments that I had from moving from like one house to an apartment or one house to another. And I didn't spiritually clean the properties I was moving into. So I just want to say it's a very good idea to do it because I didn't spiritually clean them. I was tired. I was worn out. I just didn't do it. I've had some weird ass experiences, I'll just say. So it would have helped to have spiritually cleaned each space before I moved into it. You can also do it after you've moved into it. No problem there either. And so we're going to get into those things too. So, and then at the very end of this, I will probably, if I get to it, I pre-pulled some oracle cards from 3 different decks. And I'm just going to make that a little quick part of it at the end of the show. So for right now, if you need a moment, go grab a drink, just, take a nice deep breath in and out, whatever you want to do, and we'll get this show going. So it always takes me a little moment to kind of get rolling, right? So, let's see. Oh, okay, nice. Everybody's chatting, and yeah, talk amongst yourselves all through this too. It's fine. Okay, good to see you all chatting with each other also. All right, so what I'm going to do, and I just kind of go intuitively with this stuff. I had kind of a planned out, I have a little outline, I have some notes so I don't forget some stuff. But now I'm just going to like kind of throw that script out the window and kind of off-road it. So what I want to do is, if all of you want to play along, you don't have to. If you can just kind of sit there, you can close your eyes or not, just breathe nicely. I'm going to rattle off a list of objects and things. And then you can have your eyes closed or open. And as I run through just naming things, different words and phrases or collections of words, just see by the time I get to the end of the list, if any of them jumped out special to you. If not, no big deal. And then I'm going to go forward with everything I was going to talk about. Okay? And you'll see why this relates later, maybe. All right, so I'm just going to read some stuff. A staff, a wooden stick, river rocks, coral, shells, crystals, crystal grid, plant leaves, dried flowers, buds, leaves, chimes, wind chimes, copper bells, brass bells, earthquake bell, singing bowl, salt, pine, sage, incense, candles, onions, lemons. And I think I'll leave it at that. So see if anything kind of like ping, lit up when I said all of that. And if nothing did, no worries. So these are just some things that I'm going to talk about that are components that can help you spiritually clean wherever you're living. So I don't want to get too hung up on words. So if I say house, that could mean apartment, that could mean whatever the dwelling is. And we'll go from there, of any size, right? So, and then we're going to get into a related thing into that kind of a cleaning is also if you've had any, I'm asking the question to all of you, it's rhetorical, or you can hop in the chat. If you have had any experiences in your home with a ghost, what we call like a ghost or a spirit, there's a phrase called Earthbound Spirit, and that's something where it doesn't have to be that the person passed in the home wherever you are. It could also be another spirit that, is kind of coming through there. If the property is kind of open toward, into the portal tendencies, it can also be that you were out somewhere, especially if you visited a loved one at a cemetery, that they call them like hitchhikers or tag-alongs. You might have picked up a spirit from there if you didn't, walk into that area and try to spiritually protect yourself ahead of time. So, if that applies to you, if you're visiting some of these places, just make sure in your mind, you innerly from the heart space, like just imagine a big glowing ball of light and maybe like a glowing shield over you, and just say to yourself, I am protected, loved, blessed, and protected as I walk through here. Anything that is not of me or not invited is not allowed, right? And whatever practice you want to do with that as you go visit a cemetery or back, or an area where it might be low vibed, say you're even, going into a bar. And, I think a lot of us probably don't do that, but say you're visiting a friend, or you need to go there for whatever reason, just make sure you mentally put the intention that, as you walk in, before you walk in and cross that threshold, that you are totally protected and nothing's going to kind of latch on to you, because entities kind of jumping on you and hanging on to you is a thing. And if you happen to be really sad or low vibed when you walk into places like this, you're susceptible to possibly picking something up like that. And I'm just saying that because it happened to me. I didn't go into any of those places. Happened to just be in my house, and a coworker who had passed, a good friend of mine, it turned out that she became an entity that attached onto me. She became earthbound, which means that soul, as they are supposed to transition, didn't go to the light, so to speak, decided to hang around. Perhaps there was trauma involved, how they passed, and they're confused and don't know where they are, or they just weren't ready, or they just kind of like missed the moment. And then they can detect, us like bright lights or loving hearts, and they tend to maybe, go to that. Or if they're of a negative base, that's if it's a positive earthbound spirit or just a neutral one. But if it's a very negative soul that didn't go to, where it was supposed to go, then they can kind of latch onto you, and then they can drain your energy. If you're already sad, they can make you extra depressed and you don't know why. And then people think it's them, but it's really this attachment. Now, I did not know any of that was even possible, okay, until I had my great awakening, my spiritual awakening back in 2010. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I'll make it a quick, review. I've told my story in other shows, and I'll put links to that below. But basically, it was that moment where you drop to your knees, you question what's going on in the world. I had, quote unquote, lost my job, my marriage, my home, like everything, at that time. And it all went away to crack me open, break me apart, so that I could like open up and really see I was, living in this kind of lie, this 9 to 5, 3D matrix, that's like a fake world. And I needed to open up to see what's really true. And it's kind of more of the spiritual world, the loving world, not one that's going to, whip you and have you on the hamster wheel. That's not a loving world. That's kind of like the fake 3D matrix, but you don't know it until you like wake up. Right. So anyway, in that great awakening, of course you're sad, or this can be one form of it, not to scare anybody. You might have a great awakening and it's like a glorious moment. I just had like the really crappy version where you got to just like lose it all. So I'm just coming from that point of view. So don't be like, thrown off. You may have a beautiful, glorious experience. I just didn't, apparently my soul picked the other plan. But in that being in the dumps, of course, you want to talk to somebody. And for me, it wasn't traditional psychiatrists, psychologists, because I knew there was something more about this, what I was going through. And so, of course, it says when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I was ready, like, who do I talk to? So different spiritual guides. These are just people you might call a psychic or intuitive, totally connected in. I went to a miraculous one as kind of my first go-to person. And again, he came in mysterious and beautiful ways, kind of like a friend of a friend knew of somebody, whatever. So I'm like, okay, fine, let's go. Right. And this person didn't even speak English. So it was rather interesting. I could understand the language, but when I went, he didn't even know my name. He knew nothing about me. So when I went in, he was the one who could see deeper. And he looked at me and he goes, there's like a dead person on you. And I'm like, what is he talking about? A dead person on me? Like, this guy, what is he talking about? Right. And all of this is new to me, going to somebody who can really see. And he goes, yeah, there's like somebody attached to you, like spiritually. He could see deeper, as I'm saying. So he could see, like an aura and the shape of the person. And they were like clinging to me on the back. And I'm like, what? And so he goes, yep. And then he was describing the person. And as he started describing, I'm like, oh my gosh, he described my good friend, former coworker who passed. And he described her to the T, and so specifically, and there's no way he could have known, the description. He nailed it. And he even, it was like the movie Ghost. If anybody hasn't seen it, it was from, I think, 1991 with Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg, and Demi Moore. There's a lot of truth in there of what can happen spiritually. And it's not to scare anybody. What I'm going to talk about today, every point along the way, is how you can very simply and easily, if you feel aligned to it, kind of clear spaces, clean spaces yourself. I'm giving you my example because if anybody's in this situation and you don't know, where to go get help, this might point you in the right direction. And I do recommend that if you're dealing with some of these things, this is after I talked to a lot of different like spiritual guides, psychics, intuitives to figure some of this stuff out. So, it's a good idea. I'll just throw it out there. Some of you already know and have your go-to people. But if this is all new to you, I started by just, getting recommendations from friends of people around town who knew about this whole spiritual world and how to do these things, or go online. Like I've gone on YouTube and looked around, found some truly incredible people, got some really good sage advice, pun intended, because sage is one of the cleaning methods, from different psychics, intuitives, and other types of healers. So you just kind of look how long they've been online, look at their content, see if they feel authentic and legit, and reach out to them if you're needing, some guidance or just someone to talk to. Plus, there's many other ways, and you're probably going to just automatically, because of your divine walk and path, attract, whoever you need, as the first step. And then you go to a lot of different people over the course of awakening. It's not just like, oh, I found my one go-to healer or intuitive. Usually you're with some for quite a while, and then you see you might need another one to learn even more, and you go to others, and you may come back around to some from the past. It just depends on what your individual journey is. So I think I've been spoken far too long about that. I don't want to say my apologies, but for whatever reason, I just wanted to lay that groundwork. And now we'll get into what I'm going to talk about, because the big part of it is you just understanding what an earthbound spirit is. There's a great YouTube channel of somebody who's really well versed on this. Actually, two of them. There's Mark Bayerski, and I'm going to put this in the description area below too after the show airs. And he's got a lot of great experience with moving earthbound spirits along, and he shares openly a lot of what he does. Also, another YouTube channel is Barry Littleton, and he's worked with earthbound spirits and helping people move them along. Another channel is Alba Weinman, and she evolved a technique, the QHHT technique, but she, I don't want to say improved upon it, but she enriched it and took it in a slightly different direction. The QHHT is the quantum hypnosis healing technique put forth by Dolores Cannon, and she studied under her actually. And then she took that knowledge and built further, and has like a healing with forgiveness technique that involves walking through past life regression and healing wounds in those different lives. It's very fascinating. So I'll put the link there if you're not familiar with her. And then also just great tips and tricks from tons of people I've known along the way, gone to different, intuitives. And another more modern one, some of you already know too, is Mila at Higher Vibrations. So I'll put those YouTube channel links, in the description area below. All right. So I want to say that we've got one earthbound spirit that might be in your home, or you're moving to another one. Say you've never heard of this, and you go to another home or place to live, and you walk around, and we're all intuitive. We all have our spidey senses. We all have, whether you have the awakening or not, we have the basic, it's us. We all have it. We have that sense like a dog. Like if somebody walks in to wherever you're at, you can right away get the vibe, can call it a vibe. They got a good vibe, they got a bad vibe, right? Just like a dog would be like barking at somebody who's ill-intended, or running right up if they got a loving vibe, right? We got that too. We got those senses. So as you walk through whatever space you're going to, relocate into, or it could be your current situation, and you haven't really thought about this, you walk through and, you can tell if a room feels good or a room feels maybe not so great. And there might be a reason, you just don't know why. Part of it can just be because there's clutter. But another reason might be if you have some kind of spirit there, some energy. Excuse me. Not all earthbound spirits or ghosts are like people per se. It can also just be an energy, that like non-corporeal, like something that doesn't have a body. And so there's lots of ways to deal with all of this. Also, there are straight up ghosts and spirits. I'm going to tell this story, and then I promise I will tie all of this together and get to the spiritual cleaning part. But I didn't really think about ghosts, whether I believed that there are ghosts or not, just from my own personal belief or not, until 2010 when I had my great awakening. Because at that time that I told you I had this spiritual attachment of my passed on friend, that was the first time that my eyes were open to, yes, there are ghosts or spirits of people who are still lingering here that didn't like move on. And I'll tell that little story real quick and we'll get into the cleaning. So this story was, eye opener. So irrefutable. It's irrefutable for me. This is scientific evidence. There are ghosts. So I was coming home from work. I was in a corporate job. I was under a lot of stress, but I was totally, fine, used to it, dealt with it for years and years. I had actually come home even early, and this is important because normally I had been at work till like midnight or whatever, 10 o'clock easy. This time I came home at 6, got home, quote unquote, early. And but I was actually just coming home on a break, and I had to go back and work. So I went in the kitchen, started making a real quick meal. So I went over, got a pot. I think I was going over to the sink and either washing it or putting water in it. I can't remember that part, but I was facing the sink, and the sink faced out the window. Behind me, and it's a very small kitchen, very small. So behind me, there was a range, like the oven with the stovetop on the range, the coil burners, just electric burners, no gas. And then there's the refrigerator. Everything was very tight, compact next to each other. So there's a little counter space. Pulled out a gallon of milk. Okay, now if you're in the United States, and I don't know other countries, it's probably different, but in the United States, there's these, I don't have one as an example, but there's a plastic milk jug, a gallon of milk with a handle, and you hold the handle. Now, there's 2 that I know of possible caps or lids that go on that milk jug. One is like a screw type, like a plastic cap, and you screw it on. It's threaded and, it screws on. Then there's another type where it is a flat plastic, and then it has a band of plastic going around the rim of it, and then you pull that off, you unpeel it, okay, and you throw that out. But then you still have this flat cap that insets in the top of the lid. You smash it down, it's on there solid, okay, doesn't go anywhere. So that's the type I had in that particular night. So I washed my dishes or put the water in whatever in my pot. I went over to the refrigerator, pulled out the jug of milk, set it on the counter, okay, and just set it there, and then went back to washing something. Now, after I set it there, it's important detail. The oven had not been used. The range was not on. There was no heat source there. This gets to the scientific part. No heat had been involved. This is just on a regular room temperature counter, okay, the milk jug. And the milk jug was more than 3/4 full. So there was very little air space in the top of that jug. That's also important. So I go back to washing or doing whatever in the sink. And then behind me, I hear flip, flop, flip, flop, flip, flop. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Now, there was somebody else in the house, but they were off in the living room watching TV. They were nowhere near the kitchen. And so it was nothing they were doing to create that sound. I knew that. So I'm like, what the heck could be making that in my small kitchen with me? So I turn around to look at the source of the sound, and it's the milk jug. The lid was going up and down by itself. It was going up, down, up, down. And I'm looking at it, and right away I'm like, no, I don't have time for this. And I went back to the dishes because that was something I could not explain. Now, had I had the oven on or the top range had some heat on, you could say, oh, that was just heat causing the thing to rise, but it had not been on. The cap was secure. And I watched that thing going up, down, up, down, up, down until I went over. So I left out this detail before I went back to the sink. It was kind of like oh, hell no, I have no time for this. So I ran over to it and smashed down that lid, like really mashed it down. I'm like, that ain't going nowhere. I don't have time for this, whatever this is that I can't explain. And I went back to the sink. Okay. So I'm like, oh, what is that? I can't even think about that right now. Not in my world. Not now. No. So I'm back at the sink. And then what happens? No sooner than I'm back over there and turn my back, flip, flop, flip, flop. And I'm like, oh my God. So I turn back around, I go over to it again, I smash the lid down, and I go back and I'm just watching it. And then it stayed down. And I even ran to the other person in the house and I'm like, come look at this while it was going up and down. But I had a fight with the other person, so they weren't coming in, or we had a mutual fight. So anyway, not a bad one, but just one of those, don't want to talk to you right now. So I didn't have a witness. So I'm like going to the back to the wall, looking at it, going, I don't even know how to process or deal with this. This is out of my known comfort zone, right? So I'm looking at that thing, and then just suddenly it came in my mind, um, who might be behind it. Because at that point, I'm like, well, this is ghost activity. No other way to describe it. It didn't feel negative. It wasn't like the poltergeist situation where, cups are being thrown or something. I don't know. It was harmless, but I'm like, blowing my mind, expanding my mind in that moment. So as I was looking at it, wondering, well, what do I even do with this? I got a name come in my mind, and it was the name of my coworker. And this is before I knew that she was attached to me. This is before that. So I'm going to change the name so I don't like ruin the privacy of this past, good friend. So I just said instinctively, it just came out of my mouth, Jenny, is that you? And then I kind of felt like yes, because this coworker was known to do pranks. She pranked me all the time at the office, at the workplace, and other people. And it had that energy to it of prankster. Like, she's probably laughing her little earthbound ass off, like, let me get Varleigh, I'm going to do this. So that's how I woke up to it. Absolutely no question, couldn't have been anything else. And then when I went to that spiritual guide, he confirmed it for me because he's like, somebody's attached to you, and he described her to the T. Now, how that weaves back into the movie Ghost that I threw out there to reference, if you haven't seen it, very real phenomenon happened. Somebody knew, whatever movie writer, whoever wrote that script, they were very much in touch with what can really happen. And I had seen that movie back in I think it was 91. And, then I went to this spiritual person. Hadn't really thought about that movie though, but then I kind of thought of it again when that thing happened in my kitchen. I'm like, this stuff can happen, And again, no fear here. Once you kind of know what is going on, and what I'm going to illustrate here is also our power, in a good way, loving power, to help ease these spirits and help them go to the light, and help them, don't like the phrase crossover, but you know what I mean, help transition them into a more heavenly realm if we can do it. And it can be very simple. It can be as quick as a thought, and it can be very loving. We don't have to be like, ghost, get out of here. We can be like, okay, who's there? Is it loving or not? Now, in loving cases, I'm going to tell you what to do. If you encounter ever a spirit that is not nice, then there are people, to go seek help. That takes a special expertise, because that's a whole nother energetic level involved. And the person that's going to help you has to be strong enough, or I don't want to say strong enough, aligned enough and capable. Like they have to be equipped to handle it, is what I'm saying. And so, and I'll put a name of somebody like that down in the description area. So I'm not here to say like, oh, you're going to have these experiences if you don't. But hey, that's what I'm here to talk about today. I meditated on this, and this is a topic that came up. So I'm going to talk about it. But I'm sharing again, this is just my experiences, my stories that are true. And it may be that you have no need other than this is just passing entertainment. That's fine by me. Or who knows, in the future, you may know somebody else who's going through this, and they're like at a loss. And you might just go, oh, I remember that lady was talking about this. And it may give you a starting point, jumping point to deal with it. So, and again, no fear with it. I'm going to show you how you can do all of this and have no fear. And if you do have fear, how to do stuff so you don't anymore. Okay, so all that to say, okay, we covered that, my entity attachment, to prove that there are ghosts, there are earthbound spirits in the different places. Actually, I'll just go ahead and tell the one more ghost spirit experience, and then I'll go in and tell you how to address these things, and then how to do just basic spiritual cleaning in the house, even if you don't have any kind of spirits going on. So I'm going to give you the extreme case of spirits, and then go back to just general good hygiene with spiritually cleaning. So the other ghost experience, this one was weird because I wasn't expecting it. I was moving from a house to an apartment, and the apartment had just been recently renovated. So they had replaced the tiles, repainted the walls, Everything, it was very small, compact, but everything was fresh and clean. It felt good in there. I walked through, I didn't feel any negative energies. I'm like, hey, I think we're good to go, And again, I was short on time, so I didn't really have time to go there and do the proper spiritual cleaning, which I'll get to the cleaning, I'll mix it in this story. In this case, what I should have done is clean the floors with like pine. And some people use Pine Sol in this country. That's a brand. I'm not promoting it. It's actually very effective for like rodent deterrent and all of that, but there's like a lot of chemical in there. And I'm going to put in the description area below. I saw on Facebook somewhere somebody shared how to make your own Pine Sol. So it's literally taking pine needles and putting in with vinegar, letting it sit, yada, yada. But then you can create your own. So I recommend, if you do any of this stuff, if you can make your own pure and, pure water and your own, organic stuff, and you can bless it and whatever you want to do over it, that's the best. But if you can't, you can also get some other kinds of generic cleaning products. But whatever the case, let's just say I should have cleaned the floor with something like pine based, maybe lavender based. Or if I couldn't get to that level, I should have, and I'm not, putting myself down of shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's just, I should have done it, neutral. I should have maybe put some like salt in the corners. That's one way to rid anything negative or neutralize the space. You can do all kinds of things. In this example, I'm only going to talk about that because that's what I was feeling. In the description on this show, I was talking about there are so many ways to spiritual clean stuff. So a big part of this is also, what do you click into? Like, intuitively, what feels right for you. So like I could say, hey, use, lavender in your space to clean, but somebody has an allergy to lavender, then that is not what you want to use. Or use peppermint oil, and same thing. Somebody might have an allergy to pepper. So again, you got to intuit your way through this too. If somebody says, hey, I might want to use this, but you're feeling like, oh, but wait, go with your intuition as well and find, a substitute way. So that's why I was running down the list of some of the things. Did anything kind of jump out at you? Because that's something that you already resonate with that might be good for you. But also every situation, every place, physical place you move to might have a specific set of things going on, which also might call for, using your intuition, yes, but also looking at some other specific types of cleaning it. But anyway, let me get back to this one other little ghost story, and then I'll make more sense when I get into the cleaning practicality of it. So this other apartment, I should have maybe put salt in the corners, salt across the threshold, and whatever. I didn't do anything because I'm like, it's freshly painted. I didn't feel anything there. It's fine. Well, I move in. Here we go. Like I need the background music, like dun, dun, dun. I move in. And the first night, things seemed fine. Other than I did throw out my back on moving in. So that was maybe like a little premonition. But around the third night, I was sleeping in this, one little room. And I swear it was like the middle of the night. There was some light coming through the window so I could kind of see through the whole apartment. I was turned on my side. And I'm not going to give the full version of this because it was pretty scary. But it was turned on my side. And then in my mind's eye, and I felt it like a presence there, to the point where I'm looking and I'm like, nobody could have gotten into this place. Cause I could see the two doors, entry doors, exit doors of this small apartment. Nobody came in. I hadn't gone completely to sleep. I was just in a light, I wasn't even sleeping. I was just had closed my eyes. And I looked around and I'm like, I know nobody came in. I heard nobody. And I even had extra locks. I would have heard if somebody came in. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? Cause I'm turned on my side, but from behind, it was like somebody got in the bed next to me and put their hand over my mouth. Okay, not in a good way, not a friendly vibe. I went into, before I could even panic, because it was somebody trying to do harm. My first thought right away was in my mind, I just said, God, about to say, God help, because I didn't know what this was. And the moment I even said the G of God, poof, it disappeared. And then right in that moment, I'm like, see, Varleigh, you idiot. I should have spiritually cleaned this house or this apartment before I moved in. And the reason why I'm saying that is, and I was okay, because in that moment, poof, it went away. But of course, I got up, turned the lights on, move stuff around, put music on, whatever, change up the vibe. And I'm like, oh my God, time to clean. So the reason why I'm saying idiot and kind of laughing was somebody who normally isn't kind of in spiritual knowledge, in touch with any of that, had told me twice before I moved in, like, hey, if you want, I'll come over and, we can like put some pine or whatever. I'm like, no, it's okay. Whatever, life was going on. There was a lot going on. And then they kind of mentioned it a couple times. I'm like, no, I'm good, whatever. And so that's why I'm like, kicking myself. I should have taken the friend up on it because that would have saved me that experience. Now, I wasn't harmed. If anything, it was good practice for me to see it real time in a personal, up close, a little too personal experience, that just by saying God, or you want to say Jesus, or you want to say whoever you pray to or believe in, or just help, your divine team in general, if you don't know who they are, just say help, but with the intent of something greater than you or your higher self. Hey, come in, like phone a friend, come in and help. The moment you have that thought, for me, God or Jesus is more effective. Just even think it. If you can't speak, you can think it. Boom, you get the help in those kind of like weird situations. So I know that's maybe out there for a lot of people, but I feel I'm supposed to share it because that hit me totally unaware. And I'm like, I sure would have loved to have talked to somebody or have known that story in my mind, that it's possible just to get rid of it by saying God or Jesus, it's gone, or just, help, divine team. Okay. So anyway, so in that particular situation, for me, that was a residual spirit of tied to that location. So whoever was in there before had some kind of thing, with that energy. And again, I thought just new tiles, new paint, fresh whatever would have like cleared that away. No. Okay. Now I'm in a place now too. I didn't even have this on my list to talk about. And again, I walked through, felt good. I repainted personally all the walls. And as I painted, I was blessing, and I was like, putting blessing and protection, just the intention into the paint, like a meditation. And I did, almost all of the house. I missed just a small little hallway. Still haven't done it. And here we go again. I didn't, with intention, do more to spiritually clean, other than I thought, the meditation and the painting is enough. Well, and I didn't even get to do, here's another spiritual practice I'm going to be talking about, is putting loose leaf sage. You can also use bundles. Hang on. Here's where I bring my examples. You can use bundles to smudge. Smudging, if you don't know it, is you take a bundle of sage. It can be juniper. It can be any manner of like leaves. Here, let me just see, like dried leaves, sweetgrass. This one has little bits of stalks in it. But some people, you light it, you light the edge. And I'm just bringing this up for you to investigate and look further on your own. Okay. Then you get like a fireproof bowl. It can be like an abalone shell. I was looking for mine, and my singing bowls and my shells for this stuff are missing. I have no idea where they went. But anyway, you can get like a terracotta bowl, or, just look it up. There are smudging bowls. There might even be a really thick wood, or you can even put like a layer of tinfoil in there, I think, to, so something doesn't burn the bowl. Just make sure you got a fireproof bowl if you do this. And you burn the top. It's a slow burn, but you get a lot of smoke. And then you just take something like this, and you make sure you go around into the corners, let the smoke go up into the corners of the room. You can go around windows, you can go around your front door, and just symbolically, and wave it around and just say, everything is loved, blessed, and protected. Nothing comes in unless you are invited to, this is my, area, my space, or our space, if there are other people there. And you just, whatever comes to mind, to do this intention, and you make sure no sparks or anything obviously get out, make sure you're safe, and that you do this when you have plenty of time to be in the space, so there's no fire or anything if little sparks got out. That one YouTube channel I mentioned, Mark Bayerski, he talks about, smudging sticks are nice. Actually, here, if I put it over here, I think you see it better. Yeah. Smudging sticks are nice. However, in his experience, if it's a particularly, let's just say, naughty entity, bad, low vibe entity, he likes to use, loose leaf versions. Like this is white sage. And, he says, because you get more good smoke coming out of it. Now, if you have a particular difficult one, I'm going to defer to his channel for that, because he explains it really well. He talks about getting so much smoke in the space, making sure you get into closets, wafting, I like to say wafting it around, and drawers, but definitely the corners, and going through every room, like don't skip any. And then just let that smoke sit there. Like, you leave this space, let that smoke really well up if you've got a trouble entity. and then that should drive it out. And it makes sense too if you look at the Native American history there. They all use, not all, but sage is a big thing to use to drive out anything negative. Okay, so that's one form of cleaning. Now you might have people, yourself or people in the house that are like, well, I can't handle all that smoke. Like my eyes, it's going to activate, like my lungs. Then that's not the right technique for you. But then you can put different kinds of salt in the corners. Again, what kind of salt? That's an intuitive thing. You can use like sea salt, Celtic salt, pink Himalaya, whatever you think. Now, if you're getting night terrors, as they call it, or like nightmares, or you feel like you're getting that kind of stasis, paralysis, like somebody's doing something to you energetically, whether it's a spirit or someone's throwing you shade or whatever. Some people even take like the salt and sprinkle it around the bed that you're, sleeping on or whatever you're sleeping on as kind of like a little ring of protection. So, that's nothing low vibe. That's high vibe. If you want to try it, can't hurt. An interesting thing too, somebody told me once is that, or not told me, but spoke about once on a YouTube channel, is if you feel like you're having any, whether in the spirit form or I don't know what kind of form, dream form, some kind of negative entity. Now they're good and bad in every race, every species that I'm going to be talking about. So say that some people, the thing that I heard was that if you're having any issues with werewolves, like in your dream or possibly in reality, and they're good and bad ones, just saying, but if it's a bad one, somebody on the YouTube channel even said to put like a iron piece of iron under your bed, like an iron nail or an iron whatever. I don't know. So, it's kind of the old thing where they say use garlic or wood for vampires, wood crosses. I don't know, but I'm just throwing all this out. And if it lights up for you, great. If it's not, toss it. I could care less. This is just trying to share information that might help you out. Now, I'm going to wander all over the place. I'll get back to more on the spiritual cleaning with the Earthbound Spirit and my other two stories. But now I'm being led to talk. I will get there, but now I'm being taught to go to children. If you have children and they're afraid in their room, a lot of the children coming in now these days will speak their mind. If they see spirits or other things in their room, ET form, any other kind of spirits, they will express it. Listen to them. I think we're past the time, like our parents' generation would say, there's nothing in there. Well, if you're like me, something's there, so listen to the children because they are seeing deeper. And, it's important to listen to them of what they might be seeing. So if someone, a little one, is having nightmares and stuff, it could be visitation from stuff. And again, no fear there. But what you can do is give the child reassurance and tools on how to deal with it, where they feel empowered. And this is actually not just for children, it can apply to adults too. So another way, other than salt or some of the smoke, part of the smudging stuff is also incense. I'm going to hop around, so bear with me. Another one is incense. I've got the blue to not give a certain brand credit, but like in this case, there's frankincense. There's frankincense with amber. This is Hopi pinyon. There's blue lotus. There's rose. There's lavender. And again, with the incense, walk your space and just intuitively go with what resonates for you. And again, this isn't going to work if you got lungs or lung issues with people and they don't want the smoke. But if you don't mind it, do this. Or also aromatherapy wise, you can use candles. I don't have my, try to go. Oh, I had one out here to show up. Here it is. Go with a candle that is not the perfume type. So I'm not here to, I don't want to throw out labels, but you're going to know what I mean. It's just for reference. Like the Yankee, I'll just say, I'm not going to do the whole name of the company, but with their candles, there might be more just like a perfume versus a soy candle with essential oils. And these will burn longer and they're not so perfumey. They won't trigger coughing and, allergy issues as much. So again, candles might be useful too. You might even want to get a good essential oil. Like these are really strong, like really beautiful. This is a lavender chamomile. One of my favorites is lavender and white sage because that smell, it's really strong, very clean. And sometimes I'll keep the cap up and I don't even burn it. And I don't recommend burning anything bedside because you may fall asleep and you don't want a fire. You don't want any, thing to happen that way. But you can even just pop the lid off and have that very strong scent, by your bedside too, as a form of, the aroma to maybe in the intent to keep anything, away from your area at night. But getting back to the kids and also adults, another form of keeping things away is light, So this is just an example of, let's see, one of a plug-in in the wall, a night light, right? And this thing goes on. If the power goes off, it goes on. And it's also a flashlight, this particular model. There are other ones, night lights, that are, like this one's fun. It's a dragon with like glitter, in there, and it changes color. So what I'm bringing up is ask your little one, you feel okay at night when you're sleeping. And if they're having any kind of encounters they can't explain, or they just don't feel good, they don't know why, ask them and see whatever their interest is and give them, there could be like a fun little cartoon nightlight. This is just one I happen to have. A nightlight that either sits on the little bedside or plugs in the wall. And there's some great ones. I don't have the example here. There's some great ones that plug into the wall, and then they have like a little projector, and it projects like a spotlight up on the ceiling, so it illuminates the whole room. And I'm going to raise my hand. I have to have some kind of little light on in the room. I will not sleep well if it is pitch black, just because I've had some weird ass experiences with these spiritual things. And this is a note too for adults, to bring a nightlight if you're like me. Throw it in your bag if you're at a hotel, because lots of different energies are in the hotels. So I always keep a light on. And since I don't carry salt, I don't want to put anything on their property in a hotel, but I just more like mentally put the intent out there and do kind of like a visual prayer of the room cleaned out spiritually. Just kind of do it in my mind and send it out from my heart space, blast out any energies that are not welcome. And so I know I jumped around, but that's another thing to do. So for the little ones, ask them if they want a nightlight on the thing, you'll know what they like. So see if they want the cartoon or they just need a generic one, it's fine. Now we'll get to sound for the little one. Sound is another way to chase things away. So this is actually made for a little kid. And these are just like, at Christmas time, it's just Velcro. It's a little jingle bell bracelet. So you could put this on the nightstand, and then if they're having a bad dream, just tell them, to pick it up and make noise. And in their mind, just say, out, you're not welcome. Okay. Sound is great for that. And it's fun for them. And it gives them a sense of, I'm not a victim. I'm taking control of this and getting rid of it. Right. And then you can also have stuff like a thumb piano. This is one of these easy little thumb piano, just anything that makes noise. You can give them like a little chime. This is cute with a little cat. Again, make it fun for them, like whatever they're into. If it's a cat or a car or whatever, they can go like this. You can just don't have any of this, and you have a pot with a wooden spoon. Put that there and just have them bang away at it, right? Whatever they're into. Like if they're into drums, they can be like, making noise, and you just make the noise and say, whatever you are, out. You're not invited, go, right? And so the noise aspect can drive it out, and it'll help the child feel empowered. Okay. All right. So we went there with it. And now let me go back to how to get rid of, maybe, I don't want to say it, that sounds a little harsh, how to help coax or transition along an earthbound spirit. This is just my technique for one specific example. And again, do look around on the internet, if this is new to you. And again, you may have some fun ways of dealing with this that, I have never heard of. Okay. So not too long ago, I had to go to a temporary living situation, a rental home. And again, I walked through, it was freshly painted, I didn't feel any bad energies whatsoever. I felt the opposite. However, over time, a few months into this place, in my bedroom, I just, I'd lay there, and I was kind of close to the wall and the corner. The headboard was close to the corner. And it just felt like the energy was sinking down. Like I felt like a pull, like a slight pulling. Now, it didn't feel like poltergeisty or scary whatsoever. It didn't feel like super negative, but I just noticed something felt like depressing down or pressing down in that corner. And I kind of didn't think too much about it, other than I'm like, something doesn't just feel like rosy or clean there. And so I kind of ignored it for a while, but then finally I'm like, I better really see what's going on here. So I couldn't see it for myself. And that's the thing. We can be great spiritually and know these things, but sometimes, hey, we need to go to people who are outside of it to see it clearer, right? So I went to someone to help me see what was going on, see deeper. And sure enough, it was an earthbound spirit there. And so I'm like, okay, good. Now that I know what it is, I can handle it. So I keep this staff. This is like a 6-foot wooden staff. I just got this off of one of the online things, the Etsy, platform. There was a guy who just, got these branches out in the wild and sanded them down and whatnot. And so I wanted one. I always wanted just a 6-foot, staff. Now, it's interesting because there's so many different wood types you can select out there. As many, wood that you can think of, there's going to be something you can get for it. Like in termite prone areas, you might want to get cedar, because termites don't like cedar so much. In this case, I think it's walnut or black walnut. I can't remember which. It just felt right. So anyway, I had this near my bed, and I love these because they're good for grounding yourself, even if you're inside. You put it up and put it on the ground and hold on to it. And so I'm like, okay, for this Earthbound Spirit, I've got my staff, and I am going to speak to this spirit. So just close my eyes and just try to connect with it. And then I just, from my heart space, I didn't really have any other things. I didn't smoke it out with sage or anything. I just felt like, no, I just need my staff and me. And that's another way to clean. Just really connecting in with your heart space and using that as a purification light that can shine out. And that's the technique I was doing. So, and I always ask the staff first, because even though it's fallen obviously from the tree, I still feel the life force in it. And so I say, hey, do you mind if we work this together? With love, I'd like to help coach and transition this spirit into the heavenly realms and help it not be stuck here anymore. And I got no resistance. All was good. So all I did was close my eyes. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, next to the, facing where the energy felt low. And I just closed my eyes, and I might tear up now because you just get in touch with your most loving wishes for somebody possible. So you think of a loved one or an endearing pet, if it's hard for you to imagine with people, just whatever living being you just love the most in this world or from the past, just get into that space where you just wish nothing more than God's love, mother's love, father's love, whatever, guardian's love. And you just, grow that ball of light out toward, that being. And you just say, hey, I'm here. I'm here to help you move. Would you like to move into a place where it is beautiful and harmonious? And move into the light, the loving light. And, if you're not getting any like resistance back, you just repeat, okay, I'm here to, let's go. Let's move you along into the loving light. And I'm here to help you do that. And then you just get into that space of growing this ball of light. If you imagine it coming from your heart space, and then you just imagine, and you can say to it, do you see a light? Do you see any light around there? And you're having a telepathic conversation with that energy. And in my case, yes, I heard it back, like, okay, yeah, they were seeing the light. And I'm like, yeah, grow it bigger and bigger, just as I was growing bigger and bigger from my heart space. And then they see it. And I'm like, okay, are you ready just to walk over there? Is anybody there, to receive you? If not, I'm there with you. And let's just go, and then you kind of hand them off and they go into the light, and you just get into that zone of just full love where you just could cry because you're just full of so much love. And I don't have to have ever met this entity or know it, but just wishing well for somebody else. In this case, this being I couldn't see, just the energy. And then I got into that space, grew that light, sent it on its way, lovingly. And then that was it. And then I, put my little staff back, and I didn't need the staff. I didn't have to have the staff to do that. I could have also just put hand on heart and done the same thing without it. But in my case, this might be a little tip for anybody who's not familiar. It just felt good and right to have it, Now the stick didn't have to glow like in the movies, or no Gandalf stuff going on with the top, but it was just like for me to anchor so that I could send something up and also be anchored down myself, right? To be strong and aligned in that process. Okay, so that was one form of cleaning for my specific entity example. And now as far as detaching the entity, that dead person that was on me, so to speak, spiritually, that one was even simpler. So it was somebody I knew. As I said, it was my coworker who had passed. And in that case, I just, closed my eyes and I said, again, it's a different name for privacy reasons for my friend, but just closed my eyes and said, okay, Jenny, I know it's you. I know you're here. I just value the time that our friendship, and this was just a coworker friendship. It was great knowing you. And, when we were here, but, again, asking her, you are kind of stuck here. You're earthbound. I don't know if you know that. And you need to detach from me, however. And so, would you like to go to the loving light? I will help you. And again, it's a telepathic conversation. And you kind of get like a very faint, like it's okay. So I went through that same process. Like, okay, you must go. I will help you. Do you see the light? Do you see it growing as I'm putting heart space, love, energy growing? That's what I'm working on. Do you see that up there? And I'm wishing it too. And she did. And then I'm like, okay, do you see somebody to go take the hand? And she did. And then I'm like, still sending the loving light behind her and just kind of like lifting her up with it. And then she transitioned over immediately. So you can almost even do it. Don't recommend while you're driving, but like if you were pulled over, you could almost do it just in that moment. You just get into that space. It doesn't have to be prolonged. That process took not even 2 minutes. And then that took care of it. And then I found out that, like I said, that happened in my lowest low. So, but that was her sorrow because she had lost a loved one. And that's why she was like clinging around, was driving me down. And again, I didn't know. I thought, oh God, am I just really extra depressed? But I knew I wasn't. I'm like, why do I feel I shouldn't feel this down. So it was her energy, pressing on me. So the moment that she did transition fully, was no longer like earthbound. I felt I was like released from that. So, but how could I have known that was even a thing if I didn't go to that spiritual intuitive guy? I would have just thought that was all me and, I'm just like extra depressed. This is going on. No. So, go with your intuition if you're ever going through this stuff, and go seek out, people who can see deeper. I've only found out great stuff happens when I do. And even some fun and encouraging stuff comes out of, having conversations with people who see a little bit deeper. All right. So anyway, that was a clearing of an entity. We got the clearing of that one apartment, the clearing of the earthbound spirit in the house. I didn't do any clearing in the kitchen where I first, was on to, okay, ghosts exist, just because I was like, I didn't even know what to do with that. So that was my journey to start talking to intuitives, psychics, healers, and all of that, right? Oh, now we have a good question. And Rita says, hi, everyone. Hi, Rita, welcome. And we have a question from Illuminated Perfume. Have you ever gotten someone that didn't want to go? Excellent question. In my experience, no, they all went. And when some I didn't consciously work with that love light, and that one example I told you, I just said, God help, and it disappeared. And I had another experience where there was something really dark. Again, this was when I first was awakening and at my lowest low. I had another kind of weird ass entity come in. I didn't even know it was possible. And the moment I just said, I was laying in my bed and I just said, like, God, my intent was to say, God help, like now. And I got no further past God, and poof, it just like disintegrated, went away. So, but as far as getting someone that didn't want to go, that's kind of, I don't like this term, but I can't think of a better one right now. That's not my wheelhouse. However, the one YouTube channel that I recommended, Mark Bayersky, he has dealt with some that were really not wanting to go, and even ones that are like, possessing people that don't want to go. He's got some really great knowledge there. So again, I'll put a link to his channel. Now, let's get to some more happy, friendly stories. I didn't mean to go down that path, and hopefully nobody found it scary. I'm not into any horror movies. I won't watch anything like that, and I don't want to make this sound like it. But my point is, I got into stuff I didn't even know existed. But then I also went to people to figure out what the heck this is and then how to remedy the situation. So we each are powerful. Like if you notice there's something funky going on in your house and it sounds like there might be a spirit there, you just with your voice, and if you can't speak, just with your thought, you just say, you command it to leave. We do have dominion over this earth plane. So if there are any spirits dipping down to where we are and they're not welcome, you can do it the more harsh way. This was like the Christmas answer, like this was the Christmas way, the nice way to deal with some of these spirits, sending them love. But if you're not equipped and you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, and you just need it out there immediately, you can also do like the tough love way. You can also just say out loud or in your mind, I command you to go. You are not welcome in this space. I command you to go immediately, and mean it. Have your full power meaning it, not just like, oh, could you go? No, you got to be like, out. I command you to leave, right? And then that can go too. Now, to the point of, have you ever had somebody that didn't want to go? There will be some that might. I think that's a rarer case. That's got to be like really, like, that's got to be like houses that have these crazy portals that have really like demonic stuff coming out of them. Maybe you're in a situation, somebody finds a house like that. Then you got to go to like a professional again, somebody who's used to dealing with those like powerhouse entities that just aren't going to go. And so, yeah, that's out of my scope. But at that point, I would go to somebody, who knows what they're doing for that. But in the meantime, I'll give you this link of this guy below. He talks about some cases of that too, right? So all of it exists. But the good news is that we have the power to take care of it, and without too much difficulty. But you do have to know what you're doing if it's a particularly nasty entity, because they can mess you up. And I have another story about that. I'll cover in a different show, where I ran into something two different times, two different wild ass things that I wasn't even prepared for. Didn't know it was possible to exist. And I got through it, but man, that was hardcore. Like you say you meet your match, like that was beyond meeting my match. That was like above my pay grade. Whatever I ran into, didn't know it was possible. And then once I realized that is possible, then again, another journey, I learned what to do about it. Again, it's all about making sure we got the power to handle it and not be afraid of it. Because you don't want to be afraid of it, because then that feeds more into they think they have the power and, whatever. No, we are here. We have the power. We have every right to be wherever we are without that interference, and we command it to leave, right? But that's a very good question. And so I'll point you guys in the right direction. Okay. All right, so let's go to, so we have sound to repel stuff. Then we also have unwanted stuff, because of course there's the opposite, where there might be loving energies. You don't want to like scare those away. So you just get a good read on the room. And you can also, as you're cleaning the space, whether using the smudging or incense, that's the other thing with the incense sticks. Here's a question for you, each of you individually. Think about it. If I gave you this stick, okay, and some of you already know the answer, but for those of you who maybe haven't worked with it before, incense, you burn it, you blow on it, it starts smoking. There's little incense holders. I put mine in an incense holder. And what I do is I go into the center of the room. This is part of cleaning. I don't do it often because I am having lately like allergy issues and like lungs. I don't want the smoke part. So, but if you do, there's so many beautiful scents and combinations. I like I like orange and lavender combined, as if you just want a general cleaning, because it's like an uplifting and a calming at the same time energy. But there's so many other kinds. If you want pine, if you want cedar, if you want cypress, if you want like I said, the water lotus or the blue lotus or whatever, rose, hibiscus, gardenia, whatever you want. Clove. It goes on and on. Cinnamon, right? So, but if you're going to just do a general cleaning of, say, just want to go through the rooms periodically, what I do is put it in the incense holder. I like, when I go into the room for whatever reason, this is intuitive to me. You may do it the opposite. I like to go counterclockwise. So I'll have the incense, just one stick. You don't need two. It depends on how big your space is. But I put it in the incense holder and I hold the holder. And then I start going around the room in the center counterclockwise. And I'll go up to the corners counterclockwise. And I say love, blessed, and protected. Peace, harmony. Only love here comes and goes. You'll get the words coming to you, whatever makes sense to you. And I go through each room. I try to go in the closets. And again, watch your little sparks. Make sure nothing falls off and burns. So be in the spaces. And I go through all of the different rooms like that, and closets and whatever. That's just one way. Now you may go in and go, no, it feels wrong to go left, like start twirling, moving around left. I want to go right. Well, then do that. Or you don't even want to, go around in circles with it. Just do whatever you want. Like you may do more like a lifting up. And the key is just to make sure, if you have access, if there's not furniture in your way, try to go, low in the corner and like up high in the corner. Make sure that the smoke, whether you're smudging or using incense, kind of filters up, right? Because stuff gets supposedly, spiritually trapped up in the corners. All right. So we've got, sound, we've got light, we've got, I didn't bring out the bells, but I don't have them here. But, copper bells or like the earthquake bell, you can like ring, or like a cowbell, in this space. You can use, let's see what else. Yeah, any type of musical instrument as well. So that's the sound component. Then we got crystals. So another way to keep the spaces clean, I put this on the windowsill. This is a selenite wand, and it goes perfect on the windowsill. So I just set it there. And again, using intention. So I just say, okay, actually I can almost put it right there. So I just put it on the windowsill. And then, I just kind of wave my hand around. You don't have to, but to me, waving the hand is almost like a magic wand. Why not, right? I just go love, blessed, and protected. Okay. Only love is in here. Nothing else can pass through and can't come in, unless I say it's okay. That kind of a thing. So there's selenite, and it's pure. And if you don't have that big wand, there's just little chunks of it. There's also, I've shown this in the past, there's tower form. You can lay it down or have it standing there. You can have a palm stone, just any kind of piece you want. Just put it on the windowsill, put one on your bedside, whatever. If you don't like selenite is susceptible to water. So you never want to wash water with it. It'll like dissolve it. But then you could also just use like quartz. This is a druzy with the little tiny teeth. You can go with, white, anything kind of pure and white if you want. Or say you're not digging, the quartz type of stuff. There's also like this. You could use a point generator kind of crystal, all kinds, you can use orgonite, you can use whatever you want. I got tons of crystals here. If you'd rather, you're like, no, I'm not really resonating with those white ones. There's lavender. This is a light color of amethyst. There's darker purples. You can get into whatever you're feeling. This is amazonite. Again, and it could even be just a very specific piece of a crystal that you would never normally go for, but you're like, no, I'm feeling like that should go there on the windowsill. It can be a shell. It can be whatever feels good vibe to you, right? It can be river rocks, coral, whatever. And this goes to not just the windowsill. You want to put any of those things. Another way to clean your home is to grid it. Okay, people talk about crystal grids, and there's ways to just put crystals in the four corners of your home and just bless it. Some people like to put crystals near the thresholds, whether it's inside, outside, or both of your door, your main door to come in. I had a little like cute little terracotta painted turtle once, and it's kind of up high, and you could put like a little pot in it. But instead of putting a pot in it, I put him down on the corner, kind of facing the door, and I had like 12 different multicolored crystals on it. And it just seemed cheery. And that was kind of like, oh, it's my little protection turtle, and I just felt good. It just felt good. It just felt like if anybody, of ill intent even wanted to step over, and try to cross it, it's just like the little happy turtle's going to block you. That's what it felt like. And I didn't have any issues there at that home. So it was good. So anyway, we've got crystals. And again, there's so many kinds. Just go with what feels good for you. Some say that the black ones suck up the negativity. So like obsidian, this is like, I think this is called mahogany obsidian. It's got like, it's hard to tell, but it's like rust wood color streaks on it. Lava, black lava. There's so many other stones I'm blanking on right now, but that are black that will absorb negative energy. Oh, black tourmaline. That's one of my favorites. I don't have in my little chunk here. But putting that on your bedside, can keep negativity out, keep a space clean. Then we get into the aromatics. So a lot of you know about aromatherapy. These are fresh lavender buds, so get your little lavender buds going. I keep a little sachet of this around. Then you can also get into, we had the aromatherapy with the essential oil candle. Then we also have sprays. So like whether you have peppermint oil or lemon eucalyptus, you can just do some squirts around. If that's more your liking, then I don't want to use any of these other things. Try, little sprays. Some people like, this is called Florida water. To me, that doesn't like ring any bells like that, like I would use it. But you can also make your own holy water. If you're more into the church stuff, you can go to a church and pick up a little holy water, put in a little, bottle and have it there and just, spray a little wherever you are. And then we get into the whole flowers. You can have bowl of potpourri, certain flowers. And actually there's a sage mix on the cover. I didn't print out the cover for the show, but there's a little mix that shows a bowl with it smoking, and it's got not only like white sage, but also rose buds and lavender buds in there. Also, you can kind of make your own. Another thing, instead of smudging, you can get like a shell, abalone shell, and I put like a little tea light in there. And then I took little resins like frankincense and put it on there and burned it. If you don't want to go into the full smudging, because this can get a little messy, you know, and if you have loose leaf in a bowl to smoke it up, even though it's effective, it might be a little messy, or you might be worried about flame or sparks, right? Oh, thanks, Roxy Girl. You had 1111. I guess it was just 1111 a second ago or a minute ago. Great. Oh, and somebody else is, Rita's talking about best brand of incense. Now she's mentioning it. Made in India by hand with natural oils, not petrochemicals. So I'm going to defer you guys to read that in the chat. I don't want to say the name out loud to like endorse anything, but if Rita's got a good, good sense incense on that, go follow that, yeah, see if you like it. It's good to get recommendations from people of what they use, because I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Rita, because especially I'm going to go back to the allergies thing, because I do have an allergy to certain kinds of peppers. And if you get, depending on if it's a premium grade or lesser or where it's made, some of them are coated with a pepper base on the stick before they apply the aroma. Even if it's a white pepper, just be mindful if you have any pepper allergies, what's going on, with the base and how they make it. Yeah, and Rita's saying, yeah, just research. It's true. And some of it's trial and error. I've tried some off of Etsy that look good and homemade, and they were a little too smoky, in a certain direction. Maybe that doesn't bother you. Or you're like, ooh, I love that full smoky flavor, like scent. Others, it's like, oh gosh, I'm going to be coughing. So you got to look out, for the different ones. And yeah, I've done a lot of ordered some, and like, oh, that's a dud, and ordered another one, or went to a store and got one. I'm like, oh, that's the best. I'm going to stick with that one. Pun intended. I didn't mean it though. It was unintended, but intended. Stick with it. Okay. Let's see. So we've covered kind of these things, and essential oils. That's another one. Maybe it's not even cleaning your space itself. Maybe it's something to do with you. So I didn't put it on the table again, but I had ordered some essential oils in a little rollerball vial. And actually, I got them from one place where I could say, what percentage of what scent I wanted. So I put like cedar and lavender and, geranium and whatever else was offered, vetiver. I could make a whole blend. And the rollerball was nice because you can just roll a little, on you. And that's kind of like protection as well, right? Like the old biblical anointing with oils, right? You can put the intention in that's, clean and good, and you're protected. It's all like, again, about what works for you. So another way is just kind of blessing your space. Again, it's without candles or incense or any of this stuff. And before you even go to bless your space, if you're not sure if a space has good, negative, or neutral vibes to it, another great way is like, how do you feel about lemons, or how do you feel about oranges? I mean, oranges. Onions. I don't know why I said oranges, because you can take, and this is something I learned off of this guy I'm going to link below, Mark. You can take an onion and cut it in half, and just, this one I didn't learn from him. Sorry, this is another one. But you can take an onion and cut it in half and just set it in the room, like on a nightstand or whatever, for a while. And if it turns black quickly, you got some like negative energies, because that onion is going to wick anything negative or toxic. Same thing if you're sick. If you're having like coughing or, whatever, just not feeling well, feverish, put a lemon at your bedside, and that will help draw the toxins. Or even better, put them on, people have done this. I haven't done it yet. I was about to try it last week. Either take a white onion or a red onion, cut it in half, and put slices under your feet, on the soles of your feet, like put it in a sock and have the onion up on your feet. And, preferably when you go to bed, when your feet are up. Some people, I guess, do walk around in them with like plastic bags around their feet. But if you can do it at night, put a towel or something, make sure it's not going to go all over the place. But just put some onions on your feet in a sock. And apparently that wicks away a lot of the toxins out of your body. So you can also do it for your space. And also, if you're just not sure what the energies, how they're working in your room, is take a whole lemon, just a fresh lemon. Don't peel it or anything. Just leave it as it is. And again, set it on a windowsill or set it on the nightstand. Leave it there for a while. And this is what Mark Baryersky talks about. And I'll send you to his video, because that's what opened my eyes to a lot of this too, seeing it there on his channel. is put the lemon there and leave it there for a while. You could leave it almost indefinitely. And what's going to happen is if the room is high vibed or neutral, it's just going to start to like dehydrate and kind of go into a ball and just be fine intact, but just get smaller and smaller and still kind of retain its color. Not so bright yellow, but not dark or black, just kind of like a neutral tan or something. It's not going to look bad. And it'll just be like this little ball eventually. Now, if the room has negative energy, right away, the lemon's going to look sickly and turn like blackish or greenish, but not in a pretty way. And then you're going to see it. It looks like it's kind of got like an infection. And that means there's bad energy in the room. So that's a very easy way to tell too, if you're not sure. And then otherwise with all of it, just go with your intuition. And then the one last thing to kind of protect your space maybe and clean it in a certain way, clean it, is as you go to bed, if you just feel like there might be negativity around or you just don't want to deal with it, and just do this in case, just like you would do it as normal practice, like you would brush your teeth before going to bed, do this. Again, it can take 2 seconds. Doesn't have to be this elaborate process. As you go to sleep and your head hits the pillow, just in your mind, you can go around and just say, visually go around. If you've got more than one room in your house, just go in your room, in each room, and just say this space is loved, blessed, and protected. That space is. What I like to do is lay there and I just go like this. Again, I like using my hand as a wand, a little magic wand, fun magic wand. Excuse me. And I'll just like imagine each room and go, I do 3 turns of my hand. It's loved, blessed, and protected. That one's loved, blessed, protected, on and on through the hallway, etc. So that way, and then when I finish going through each room in the house, and this is really quick, this is just like that room, that room, that room, then I also imagine my hand as if I were like a huge, huge giant outside, and I go, this whole area is loved, blessed, and protected, like the home or the building is loved, blessed, and protected. And then I like go like this, like I can make a dome, like, just in my mind, like a beautiful golden, loving, pink, golden, energetic dome, and just say this whole property is loved, blessed, and protected, including any animals, insects, grasses, trees, plants, like everyone's loved, blessed, and protected, and only love can come in and out. Okay. But again, you'll know the words and you'll do visual techniques that make sense to you. But I'll just do that every night that I remember. And then I do feel good. I feel like everything is loved, blessed, and protected, right? So that nothing, wants to wander in. So anyway, those are just some things that I've gone through. Let me see. I'm just looking to see if I probably forgot to follow up on something. If I started down a path and forgot to mention it, just, leave a comment or send me an email. But I'm going to go back to my little list. So I was talking about all different kind of things you can use. You got your wooden staff, wherever I put it on the ground, a staff, river rocks. You can also get like leaves. Like I've got bamboo on my property. I can put like leaves, like, in the corners or whatever. And again, just go with your intuition. So we talked about crystals, crystal grid, shells, dried flowers, buds, chimes, copper or brass bells, singing bowls, salt, pine, sage, all different manners of incenses, candles. And so just see if any of these things seem good to you. Selenite wands, crystals. Yeah, we talked about that. So, and I didn't talk about the crystal gridding because I'm going to also defer you to other YouTube channels on that, where they do more specializing with that. There's also oracle decks that show different crystal grids. And there's a lot of stores on Etsy and other places where you can get quality crystals, and people that will even sell you like the full grid that they created. And you can also create your own in nature. I've referred to it before. I got this hot tip from YouTube channel Higher Vibrations. The first heard of her is Kristen's Crystal Grids. She's out of Australia. Her YouTube is great, and she'll go out and create just wherever she is on the beach with, she'll bring a lot of her crystals, but also you can just pick up beach rocks, whatever's nearby, create a grid with beach rocks and algae, or, use flowers and leaves in combination with some rocks and crystals. Just be super creative with it, right? And that you can do, actually, we're taking it out of the home with spring cleaning and using you can use some spring flowers and things and create some grids out in your yard to kind of like, send out a nice cleaning and clearing message there too, and keeping a loving vibe in the property. Let me see if I left anything out. And if you guys have anything to add, feel free to jump in. I just want to check something really quick here. And then I'm also going to, for anyone that wants to stick around, I know it's not for everybody, I do have a few oracle cards I'll just read through rather quickly. I won't do like a full reading with them. I'll just kind of mention some things, some numbers, and there might be a message here and there for you. Oh, I guess one little thing I forgot to mention is you can also get a broom and put it in your home. Like there was a fad and a craze back in the 80s of the kitchen witch where I live in Florida, where everything was about like country kitchens, decorating it like that, and kitchen witches. And so they actually had these little witches on brooms and stuff, and using like just a broom, of like real twigs or of lavender, and putting flowers on it, or some people like cinnamon brooms. You can also like hang that up somewhere as also extra little cleaning and protection. If you go back into the Irish, old Irish lore and practice, they used besom, besom, and they used brooms of them and in many different ways for spring cleaning. That's just coming to mind. And that's probably a whole nother fun topic to go into, just kind of the old Celtic and old Irish practices for spring cleaning and doing some of this stuff that I was just talking to you about. Okay, so if nobody has anything else, I'm going to go ahead and just go through some oracle cards rather quickly. Okay, now I'm taking it from 3 decks, and I'll link those up below later. But it's the 50 plants that heal. The answer is simple, and the other deck is called Earth Angels. Okay, so I pre-shuffled and pre-drew just to make it simple, because I've got a ton of stuff. You can't see it, but a ton of stuff on the desk in front of me, and there's like no room to move. So I did a little pre-draw. So what wanted to come out for you guys, and all I do is like meditate in what should everybody hear, what's good for everyone to hear for right now. I got oregano, and that's interesting because that's a great cleaner in a different sense of being like an antiseptic. It's good to have essential oil of it. You take a drop under your tongue or whatever's recommended. If some people take that each day to keep colds away and whatever. But anyway, I love this 50 Plants That Heal deck because it really shows a beautiful format of the parts and pieces of the plants and flowers, where you got the roots, the buds, the leaves, and everything, and blooms. And then on the back, it does tell some healing properties, but I don't want to get into that too much right now. Just email me if you want to know a little bit more about the backside. Sorry, I meant to come over here of this card. I don't think it shows up too well when I hold it up. Okay, but anyway, that's a little bit about that. So maybe oregano means something to you. Maybe you were just wanting to cook with it. Okay, but like I said, I'm not going to go too deep on these. I'm just showing it for now. So now we'll go to the Answer is Simple deck, and this one I picked because to draw from, because the back of it is just very happy. Sorry, when I do this, it's a little bit of glare, but it's butterflies. It's very spring-like, right? And thanks guys in the chat. Limited Perfume is saying oregano, super easy to grow, nice. And then Rita is saying oil of oregano is supposed to help lungs and breathing, I think. Yeah, perfect. Yep, it's supposed to be really good. So yeah, so there's so many healing properties of plants and flowers, and that'll probably be a future show, maybe even with a guest. Wink wink over there in the chat. So anyway, but we'll get into that more later. And now so I'm going to take this from the Answer. Is it called The Answer is Simple? Yeah, The Answer is Simple. Okay, so from this deck, I thought it was funny because the first card that came up, and hang on, I got to put a flashlight over here because it's dark down here, darker than you think, and I can't read it so well. So number 3, okay, so I got number 3, drop it. So that's the first card that wanted to come up out of The Answer is Simple. And I like that for this show because, we're talking about spiritual cleaning, but this is about like, decluttering, cut off those sandbags and drop it and leave it behind. Put down your baggage and walk on, be lighter, right? So it's easier said than done sometimes. I'm probably really guilty of this. I've got like these bins with stuff in it. I probably haven't seen it in years. I should just take the whole thing and donate it or give it away. But yet there's like memories, there's emotions, there's some of these boxes where there's stuff is just so loaded as far as energetics. So this might be a friendly reminder for you and for me, go ahead and like do one bin or one box at a time if you've got stuff hanging around. Or as you scan the room, if there's anything that you see that is bringing you a negative or less than feeling, Get it out of your space. Or and if you say, oh, but that was from my so-and-so or my grandfather or my grandmother, I can't just get rid of it. Well, then, okay, next step, don't get rid of it, put it in a box, but put it out of your space, out of sight, out of mind if it's not bringing you joy or it's not bringing you good feelings. And then don't feel bad about it. I got a personal message from a loved one from beyond, through a reading I had with somebody, and it was, don't worry, just get rid of whatever. They don't care. Like if you or I left this plane, and again, it's just transitioning. We're just stepping into a different frequency. We're still living. I'm not going to care if somebody keeps my, keyboard or my whatever. I could care less, So the same thought, we think, oh, but they would want me to have it, or, oh, I feel a connection to them. We don't need things to be connected to anybody anymore. We're entering into a whole new, beautiful era to come. We're in it right now, shifting into it, where in just one quick thought, we can, communicate with our loved ones much easier than ever before. Okay. And they're fine. They're just fine. So if you're having a trouble decluttering, there's, of course, plenty of websites, YouTube sites, and other things that will tell you tips and tricks on how to declutter. If it's especially a challenge for you, it is for me. I'll admit it. It's a challenge for me, but maybe just don't overwhelm yourself. Just like do one drawer at a time, or one sock drawer, and then if you go through the drawer and you truly can't get rid of anything, don't beat yourself up. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter. The only thing is that you might feel a little bit lighter. Part of spring cleaning might feel better in your space, right? You can also just put stuff in a box, just put duct tape on there and label what date you boxed it all up, put it in a corner. And if you haven't touched it in a year or in 2 years, then really look at that and go, you know what? If some big, wind came and blew everything away, would I even know what was in there? Probably not, right? But then just have it in your mind that, okay, again, don't beat yourself up. We don't need negative energies on ourselves. We're doing the best we can with what we have to work with here on this planet. But just, put the intent that, you can even call, do the phone a friend thing again to your divine team. Just say, hey guys, my heart, I'm struggling with this. This should not be a big deal to get rid of this. Why am I so attached? Why is it a problem for me to go through this? And then you can just say, kindly come in and help me. Kindly give me the energy I need to move through this, or kindly make this an easy process. Say whatever makes sense to you, and do the quote unquote phone the spiritual friend, phone your divine team and your guardian angelics or your ancestors, or, direct people that that has recently transitioned. You can lean on them, ask God, ask Jesus, ask, whatever you believe in. Kindly help me, kindly assist. And we do get that help. Okay. All right. And then sometimes there's a timing to it too. It just takes the time it takes. But in all cases, don't beat yourself up over it. All right, now here's 42 or 6. What I'm saying, don't beat yourself up. Just have fun, okay? Have fun. So we let the stuff go. We get rid of whatever baggage we can. If we can put the baggage down, so we're freer. Like, look at that kid going, wee, like the hand is up on the horse. And I would say in this image, even better than that, instead of like, we're going round and round in a circle on that horse. Imagine this kid like, wee-hoo, and then the horse is just running right off of that carousel out into the open fields. Like there is nothing holding that horse down, and be truly free and go have fun. And that's the other thing too. If we're too locked up and, I can't get through this stuff and it's heavy, just put it down, like the let it go card. Just put that, down, put that stuff down. I'll say the nice word, put that stuff down, and then go play a bit. Change up the energies, go have some fun. And then when you come back, maybe everything that you're going to do doesn't look so bad or so heavy or difficult, right? And then if it does, again, don't beat yourself up. Now, the other card, 3 came out on this deck to bring up, is number 35 or 8. And it says, say yes. And actually, this to me feels like a cross between kind of wants to be spring with these purpley bushes, but also has a little bit of an autumn feel to me. But anyway, that doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there. But we have a little couple, and clearly someone's proposing to somebody. So for me, this isn't so much about literally say yes if somebody is proposing to you. It's more of say yes to your new life to come, whatever it is that we're in. There's clearly a shift. We're moving into a new way forward. And it's just saying yes to it, embrace it without fear. If anything, it's going to be lined with flowers where we're headed. It's going to be all good and moving in a good and new direction. And so we can say yes with confidence is what I get off this card. We don't have any fear, and just leave the old stuff behind and know that there's nothing tying us down. And, there shouldn't be, feel free. We got to feel free and stand in our beautiful truth speak our minds without worrying about anything. And, again, as long as it's coming from good intent, and that we don't need to be afraid of anything more, need to be afraid of anything anymore. We are blooming and stepping into the fullness of each of ourselves in every which way, and just say yes to embracing this new life forward. We're going to spring forward in a beautiful way. So now the other deck I have is, if you're not familiar with it, actually I'll bring the cover up. It's a nice deck. It's called Earth Angels Message Cards by Amanda Clark. That's what the cover looks like. It has Earth Angels on it. Okay. And this deck I pulled out to pull from because it has a lot of rabbits in it. And since I had rabbit on the cover page, so I'm going to first just read the titles of all that came out, and then I'll just spot read a few things from it. So we had Transcendent. I'll hold it up. So we had Transcendent. That's the image for Transcendent. Sorry about the glare again. I'm trying to get it right. So we have Transcendent. We have Law of Attraction, and there's our bunny. Law of Attraction. We have the Observer. There's a rabbit in there as well. And then we have a new day. So just looking at these by title alone, oops, I got them out of order. Give me 1 second to put them back in. Okay. So we're transcendent, and I'll read a little bit what they say, but for me, just by title alone, it's like we are transcending the old way of life. And when I say the old way of life, I mean the very restrictive, punitive, draconian ruling, putting us down kind of 3D way. Like, you don't pay that, we're going to throw you in jail, like kind of energy. It's like, how dare you miss a payment? We're going to do this. That's all BS. That there's even a payment, just BS. So we are transcending. We are rising above that way. We don't even have to look at it and try to transmute the energies. It's beyond that. It's just like looking at it, like laughing at it and saying, I'm going above that. Like, why am I wasting my time with it, kind of thing? And with that opens us up to receive. When we know we can just go above it, I'm like going above this garbage. That leaves us in a place where we're open to receive, and we know nothing's going to try to take it away or hurt us or stop us, and that there's just nothing in our way. So that's law of attraction. We're going to attract everything because there's nothing blocking it. And then the Observer, for me, it's like that transcendent energy. It's like looking at the game board. This is a ridiculous game board of life where it's anything trying to say, you can't do this, and, putting you down or whatever. Throw all the pieces off that game board. Zoom up above the game board, look down at it. Don't be in it, like duking it out with somebody. We can look at it and see it for what it is going on down there in this game, or for what it isn't, and just kind of see through, kind of the ridiculousness of it sometimes, and that nothing's going to phase us. We can just see it. It's not going to, we're not in it. We're looking at it as the observer. And then a new day. Yeah, because all of this means that we are rising up above anything that was harmful and, to humanity. We're looking at it. Hey, that's a joke. That whole game's a joke. We're tossing out the game board. We're realizing we never even needed the game board. We didn't even know we were on it. And now that we see it for what it is, we chuck it out. We're like, no more game board. I'm not playing games. I just want to be in a loving world and have everything be nice and harmonious and good. And that's the new day. And that's the new day that we're in right now, because a lot of us are waking up, whether it's slow, slowly bubbling up, or, one group at once might kind of pop up over here. Others, maybe they never do. It's okay. But everyone's at their own rate with this. But what does matter with this is coming into the new day and transcending things is, where a lot of people are becoming awake and aware to the foolishness going on in the 3D world. There's more of us now. Well, let me do it this way. I'm reversed on the screen. More of us now are like, okay, no more, no more putting people down, no more, craziness with taxes and prices and, this and that are pricing people out, and people, can't keep up. So more of us are looking at it, it's like, no more of this. We're saying no. And we needed that tipping point. Before we're like here, and then now we're here. And then now I'd say like we're kind of up here. We needed that tipping point to overthrow the old system, the 3D. That's why it's kind of crumbling now, because it's not sustainable anymore when you want a loving way forward, for this new day that we're in. So kind of went on a tangent there. I'm going to bring up one little other side note, because it came up in a beautiful discussion with some beautiful souls, beautiful people I had yesterday. Some are maybe in the chat, maybe not. That the topic of but it's on everybody's mind. A lot of people's mind is scarcity and prepping. Oh, and I just want to say hi to Chu. Hey there. And also new beginnings from Rita. Yes, new beginnings with a big old heart. Illuminated Perfume just said also be lighter. That's right. We're heading to be lighter. We don't want stuff like miring us down. Does it feel better to be stuck in the mud, trudging forward and never getting ahead, or just floating up like that hot air balloon, with better perspective up there, better view, right? So it's good to lighten the load. But what I wanted to get to is the topic of scarcity and maybe prepping. I've touched on this in other shows before. But overwhelming message to come through without cards is no fear. All right? No fear. And no matter what you might see or hear out there, obviously turn off the mainstream media. It's just all garbage at this point. I mean, I look just like in 2 seconds to see, oh, okay, that's what they're up to now, and see through it, see through the propaganda, the controllers, this scarcity mindset they're trying to do. What's going on now? Now it's with gasoline. There is more than enough in this planet. There's more than enough water. Just look at Florida, the state of Florida, for an example of that alone. I meant to have the fact ready. I forgot to look it up. I'll put it in the description box later. Look at any of the natural springs in Florida. Those, and it's not just Florida, it's other states. They pump out, I forget how many millions of gallons in a very short period of time of pure fresh water. That's just coming out. The water's just coming out all day, every day. Okay. There's tons of springs that do this. Famous one in Florida is Silver Springs. It used to be the biggest tourist attraction before the Disney World moved in. And you go, it's still working to this day. You go on a little glass bottom boat ride. You can see this, pure crystal clear water. I think they even filmed Creature of the Black Lagoon there at one point, if you know those like B type movies from the past. Pure water. You see the bubbles coming up. It's just pumping up and moving that water out to, moving it along. That is free, abundant water, more than enough for anybody on this planet. Same thing with gas. Anything going on now that's restrictive, punitive, controlling. Oh my God, there's not enough. That's an agenda. That's not true reality. That's the illusion that's trying to, get people afraid. Don't be afraid. I was also talking about food. People are worried about food. And I gave the example that, look, I lived in South Florida a good chunk of my life. And we were always concerned about hurricanes. Well, I could have prepped my ass off and had a full garage full of water, food, and you name it. Well, if a flood came from the hurricane or wind blew it all away, I'd have nothing. And here I think I'm safe, but it's just all gone. And the point is, we don't need to freak out about that. Yeah, like maybe have some provisions, enough for like a week or, maybe 2 weeks. But do not be afraid. We don't need to store and hoard stuff, because if anything should happen, as it had with hurricanes, we'd have power go out. Internet went out for a month one time in a weird way. Power was out for a couple of weeks. It was hotter than hell. It was not fun. But what happens? Your whole community is in the same boat. And what happens is you help each other. That is the instinct. That is the pure heart of humanity. Human beings is love. Anything else, somebody say, oh, people aren't nice. No. The default of all of us is to help somebody if they're distressed. If there is something that is not doing that, that person has been compromised spiritually. That means something dark has stepped in and driving the car, so to speak. But the pure God spark of life cannot be tainted in that way. It's like, you have a clear windshield, that's just going along as a pure God spark of life. And then entity kind of coming in and trying to, get into somebody. That's possible. That's like mud thrown over the windshield. Well, you can clean it up. You can get those entities out. But, the pure human being, oh, thanks, Rita says, indeed, Varleigh, 100% with a heart. Thank you. Our true being is of love, and nobody is going to convince me otherwise. I have a beautiful open mind. I'll listen to things, but I just know it literally in my heart. That God spark is pure, cannot be extinguished. We go on forever. Don't fear death. No fear of any shortages of any kind. There is always a way through. And all you need to do is just believe and know that you are loved, blessed, and protected wherever you go. And if you stare into the face of adversity, the moment, I've said this time and time again, I'll keep on saying it because it's out of 15 years, the one thing I know to be so super true, all you got to say is, say something is seeming adverse, I say seeming adverse for a reason, because again, all this stuff is just illusions. You know, that we see with our physical eyes is illusions. What we see from the heart and what we see in the third eye, that's the truth. That's the real picture, because that's what's connected to the divine. And that's the truest thing there is. So in truth and nature too. But anyway, no matter what we see coming at us that seems adverse, all you got to say in your mind or out loud or both, however you want, is nope, just stop. And like, it's like, oh, this could be super bad. You can start spiraling out of control when you see it. And like, oh my God, just stop yourself and go, no, it's happening for me, not to me. And if you want to add it, you can say, it's happening for me, not to me, and all is well. In that moment, everything changes on the dime. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation, and I'm human, so I might default to, oh, you know, SHIT, like, oh, crap, this is happening. You know, it seems really bad. But I do this literally. I'll even like put my hand up and go, no, like stopping myself. Okay, let's stop the crazy train. Let's not spiral. No, it's happening for me, not to me, and all is well. And I've given the example where my car stopped working and not one person came up on one side, but two. I was like, it was in a situation where both people stopped, went to my windows and said, I'm in the middle, like, hey, do you need help? And they just popped up out of nowhere. Another situation, my car stalled in a very dangerous place on a highway, but I was able to pull off just enough. And right as I sat there and I went, oh crap, what do I do? I hear keys knocking on my window. I'm like, where? This person just materialized out of thin air, literally, because when I pulled over, there's like no one around me. I'm like, how the hell did this person even show up? And it's a guy in a safety vest, and he's got a big truck behind me with the arrow sign going like to divert. It's like roadside safety. And I'm like, no sooner than I went over, and I'm like, oh God, this, you know, I don't want a car to slam into me. He was there. And again, it was because I stopped and I said, I didn't know what to do, but I'm like, okay, it's going to be okay. You know, it's happening for me. Like, it's going to work out. And literally someone was there. So again, it's like, what do you believe in? How much do you believe that you're protected? And again, we look around, we don't see dead birds everywhere. There's always food. There's always something providing. Even if there's no store, there are trees, there are things blooming, and there are each of us to help each other. And if anything should happen, we will step in and help each other. I've been that person helping somebody, you know, and the hurricane, all power's out, but somehow we had a generator going long enough, and I made coffee and I brought it to whatever neighbors wanted coffee, right? So maybe that neighbor was like, oh, I just wish I had a coffee. I don't have this and that. I brought it to them, you know. Other people brought us ice, you know. So we help each other. That's what we do. And that's how it's going to work. But I don't think anything is going to get that bad. And it only will if you truly believe it will. If you're living in fear, you're probably going to attract that to yourself. So flip it around. Say, I come equipped. The worst thing could be shown to me, but I don't even have fear, because I just say, no, it's happening for me, not to me. And in that instant, you transmute it from something negative to positive. You really do. And again, I know it's tough. You know, our default is we've been programmed and conditioned to live in fear, be in fear relentlessly so. And now's the time to be like this card and just say, no, you know, I can sit there and these bags can be getting heavier and heavier on me, somebody, or I can just take out a scissors or knife and cut that SHIT. Cut it, man, and say, no, I cut that fear energy. I'm not buying it. Drop it like it's hot, right? Drop it. Drop that fear. That's the fear. Just cut it so we can go and fly and have fun. All right. I think that's probably more than enough. I hope you guys got something out of this one. And I think, yeah, I can't think of anything else. I know there's stuff I'm missing, but it's fine. There'll be other shows, probably. Again, I just go on when I'm supposed to. And but otherwise, we will plan on for next weekend, I will come on, but probably on Sunday. Because I'm being called to go engage with some wildlife, you know, some like big cats, that kind of thing. So we'll see how that works out. You will see me though next Sunday. Let's do it. Okay. Well, I love you all. And I thank you. And I love it that you guys are chatting and chatting away. And thanks for all your inputs. And until next time, I'll just sign off. And happy spring cleaning. And whether you can do it or not, whether you get to it or not, don't beat yourself up. I'm throwing myself in there too. All right. Love to y'all. Till next time. Bye.